Hello, welcome to episode 159 of the Epic Film Challenge 2,001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. 1973's American Graffiti. And the posting of this video today will be on the 40th anniversary of Star Wars. So why aren't we talking about Star Wars? Well, I wanted to go back to the earliest film George Lucas has that's in the book, 1,001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, which is American Graffiti, which I'd never seen before. Had known about it, you know, as a Star Wars fan. I knew about his previous films and stuff. And George Lucas started his career. This is where Connie's going to start getting a bit worried about how far I'm going to go into the backstory of things. But he started his feature film career in 1971 with THX 1138, which isn't in the book. I haven't seen that. But that's like a science fiction film dealing with big ideas and stuff, and George Lucas wanted to do something that was a bit more light, a bit more fun, and something that would give people an uplifting feeling when they watched it, and not a kind of more of a downbeat thing, apparently, than what THX 1138 was. And so he decided to make a film that's based on his kind of young adult life in California, the cruising lifestyle, and the rock and roll culture of the early 1960s, and I guess the late 1950s as well. And that's what this film is. And the first thing I thought when I saw this was Dazed and Confused. Have you seen that? Dazed and Confused?
No.
I don't think you have.
Sounds familiar.
It's a film that looks at a certain period of time, and it's a love letter to that period of time, and it all takes place over one night, much like Dazed and Confused. It takes place over one night. We follow all these characters who, a few of them are getting ready to fly off to college the day afterwards. It's kind of their last hurrah. We have Ron Howard and Cindy Williams playing a couple, and they go through an interesting story throughout the film, which didn't make me really care about him at all. He came across as just a jerk, basically, and I think that Ron Howard is a far better director than he is an actor. Not to say he's a bad actor, I'm just saying I think his strength surely turned out to be as a filmmaker, because he's a great director. I love his films, and just interesting to see him as this young kid here. I didn't watch Happy Days, but you know, it's and again, people like Harrison Ford, very young in this film. He had a small part. This is before he was really a star, I suppose, and would go on to be, obviously, in Star Wars. In fact, Cindy Williams, who plays Ron Howard's girlfriend, she was in the running for Princess Leia. And the only thing I know her from, because I recognized her, oh no, I saw her in The Conversation recently, but the only thing I recognize her from is the screen tests from Star Wars, because I've seen all those behind-the-scenes things. I was like, oh, it's almost Princess Leia.
Would have been funny.
Right, yeah, well, yeah, true. It would have been funny.
Scene together.
Of course, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, they have a scene together. We had other actors like Richard Dreyfuss. Oh, Richard Dreyfuss is so good, and he looks so young here. It makes me want to watch Jaws. Like, it was only a few years afterwards. He just looks like 10, 15 years younger than he did in Jaws. And he plays a guy who spots a mysterious blonde in a car, and he spends the whole night trying to find her. And I really liked his part, his storyline.
I liked his story.
And he's just so funny and just so effortlessly natural. Yeah, I loved him in the film. There's this geek kid called Toad.
I liked him too.
And apparently the three kind of main male characters George Lucas based off himself at different points throughout his young adult life, you know, like when he was a bit of a nerd and when he, you know, was having trouble dating, things like that, and then the kind of hot rod enthusiasm he had as, you know, cruising around and stuff. And that was another character, a guy who, you know, typical, stereotypical, like the hair combed and everything, and the white t-shirt with the rolled up cigarette pack and stuff. And I really liked his storyline as well. His storyline was great because his first scene, he's you know, the tough guy and everything and all that, and the guy who's like the #1 fast, you know, racer in town. And I didn't like his acting in the first scene. I was like, oh, I'm not a big fan of this. And then once he didn't have to act so brash and stuff throughout the rest of the film, I really liked his performance. I really liked his little story where he was trying to pick up girls and stuff, and he ended up being lumped with a girl who's, you know, a lot younger than, you know, would be acceptable for him to date.
I think I agree, because I think maybe just because the chemistry was really good with him and that girl.
Yeah.
Because she was really good in that
She was great. I really liked her.
She was impressive for her age.
Yeah.
And I think that made it easier for him to be more natural as well.
Yeah, it was really just...
when he was around other people, it felt more forced, like
a little bit, yeah. Again, towards the end as well, I felt a little bit like it just went up and down.
Yeah.
But I really liked his whole storyline with her that lasts pretty much the entire film. So it's kind of a pleasant surprise that, oh, I'm not going to like this character, and I ended up really liking it. The Ron Howard stuff, again, and the storyline with him and his girlfriend is that he thinks that we're going to go off long distance because I'm going to college, so we can date other people and it'll strengthen our relationship. And she obviously is not really a big fan of that, and he just comes across as a jerk. So I don't really ultimately care about their relationship except for her side of it. I liked her. I wanted her to kind of come out good at the end, but I didn't really care for him at all, and I don't really feel like he really redeemed himself towards the end either. I felt like the choices he made just really made him seem like quite a superficial person.
I feel like that's funny too, because to me it seemed like almost they were supposed to be the main characters in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
They were the only ones with a love story, and that's always like a big
Yeah.
thing in a movie. But like you said, I ended up caring less about what happened to them, because I felt like it was very.
Well, I liked her a lot, you know.
Yeah. Like
so I was invested in that for her sake, but not really for his sake. So.
Yeah, but I didn't really like care where the relationship went.
Yeah,
so
I'll go with that.
If they were gonna break up or not, I didn't really care.
No, yeah.
I was more interested in the geeky guy, and I was more
Yeah.
interested in the guy looking for the hot blonde.
Yeah, and that's another thing. We just watched the film. Don't remember most of the names, and that's not because it's a bad film, but it's one of those films that just drops you into something. Like, it doesn't force feed you things. It's not like the script has people going, oh, John, hey John, come on, this is my friend. Like, they don't kind of, in some films it kind of feels a bit forced when you're being told the names of characters. Here, very natural. They're not really calling themselves by their names that much, so you don't pick it up, but it just feels more natural. So yeah, most of the film I really liked how natural it felt, and how it felt like just a night out and you're like a fly on the wall watching all this stuff happen.
I like the girl that the geeky guy was hanging out with.
Right, yeah, the Toad, he has a fun storyline as well. I don't think that's, yeah, they call him Toad, he calls himself Tiger. I liked his storyline where he picks up this hot blonde basically, and he's kind of working her the whole night. He's like, oh yeah, this is my car, and he's lending a car, and he's just kind of lying the whole time. And it's a fun little storyline. Now, what I don't get, what I can't fathom, is that the girl who played that blonde was nominated for an Oscar for the film.
What?
And I'm just like, huh.
The Leia girl was a lot better than her.
Right,
I think.
yeah, and even then I wouldn't say it. Like, it just doesn't feel, it doesn't, like, I was waiting for something to kick into high gear, because I knew this beforehand. I was like, okay, where's the big scene where...
Oh, she was probably famous and stuff like that.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so that was just a random thing.
Meryl Streep's sister.
Meryl Streep's sister. Well, she was in a film, Oscar. The film was nominated for Best Picture, and that's another thing. The film's a huge success, and that is a big part of how Star Wars happened. And almost every big studio turned this film down. It was only one, I guess, Universal, I suppose, who released it. So George Lucas really had to fight to get the film made, and then it got made, and it was a big success. And so that was kind of the opening of the door for him to stick his foot in and then try to make, you know, something that he really wanted to make, which was this Star Wars film. Anyway, American Graffiti, I loved it. I really did. The more it went on, the more I enjoyed it. The soundtrack is incredible. You know, just all these great old songs, like
I was
songs that
singing along to like half of them.
right. There's songs that you know, but you don't know. You know, like, I couldn't tell you the name of any of those songs, but I know all of them. Like, just, well, not all of them, but like 90% of them are just like.
You can probably blame me for about 40% of that, because I listen to 50s and 60s music
No,
a lot.
it's my dad. My dad had like all that
Oh,
stuff.
right.
And
Well, there you go.
he gave me CDs
Well,
when I
that
was a
freshed
kid.
it up.
Yeah. So I was really familiar with the soundtrack, and I just love the time period, and it really is a nice little time capsule.
I'd love to go to that time. Just travel back in time.
And I guess it was probably a lot easier to capture that time period in 1972, because it was only 10 years afterwards, so they don't need to do like a huge rehaul and, like, you know, like make the whole street look, you know, like it used to. But there's probably, you know, it's not as hard, I guess. If you were to make a 60s film now, you'd have to do a lot more of, you know, dressing and stuff. But
I thought it was pretty like it could have been made in the 90s for all I care, really.
Okay.
The way it was made, because it was set in the 60s, and there's a lot of movies that are set back in time now. But it was just something about it that seemed really like ahead of its time, even though it was set back in time.
Yeah. Well,
the way it was filmed and stuff like that, except for the opening shot. Not opening shot, but opening picture.
Right.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, you're right there. The way that it's made it is quite modern in a way. I mean, the 70s is when film really started changing, especially in America. But yeah, it really held up well. I liked the way that it was shot and everything. I thought George Lucas did a great job with that side of it.
A lot of the acting was really good.
Yeah, there were moments where, you know, some of the bit, because there's loads of characters that come in and out throughout the night, so there's some that aren't as good as others, but
And
for the
some
most
of the
part,
extras.
right, yeah. And Connie was a bit bothered by some of the extras looking into the camera. That doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, but multiple times.
Right, and I like.
I mean, if you slip, because sometimes your eyes just go where you don't want them to go.
Yeah.
But when you like, can you just no, no.
There's another kind of side storyline that runs throughout the film where everyone's listening to this radio broadcast by a guy called Wolfman, and this deep raspy voice, and there's people like, oh, that's the guy who broadcasts from like a plane flying around constantly, or that's the guy who's broadcasting from out in Mexico. They've got all these stories and stuff. This mythical Wolfman, and we get to meet him later on in the film, which is a really cool scene, and it's played by a guy called Wolfman who did do all these radio shows and stuff, and it was a character, I guess a character, but a real life person that George Lucas was really interested in and actually wanted to make a film about, but he abandoned that. But he got to get the actual guy in this film, which is kind of cool. I like that little kind of side story.
It's almost like he had more lines than anyone.
Right, yeah.
He was in the background a lot.
True,
I
yeah.
like the Pharaohs.
The Pharaohs, yeah. There's like a
Pharaohs.
gang that Richard Dreyfuss's character comes across.
I really enjoyed that part.
Yeah.
That was probably something that picked up everything a lot for me.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah. Overall, I love the film. I really, really did. It's one of those films you're either gonna gel with or you're not. Where again, it's just incidents. You know, it's just a one night film or one day film. There's lots of things happening throughout the night, but there's not like a huge kind of, you know, big overarching story really. You just have characters who start, they go off, they have their nights out, they all splinter off, and then by the end they kind of meet up towards the end of the film. I didn't like the very ending of the film. I really didn't like the last moment of the film where basically one of the characters flies off to college and we see the plane flying through the air, and then suddenly we start seeing images of the cast, and it's like the end of a true story film or a documentary where it's like, this is what happened to them afterwards, and it's like so and so and so and so, this happened to them in 1960 whatever, and it was just kind of a really dour note to end the film on. Like, a film that was kind of a bit more upbeat, it just felt like a bit of an odd kind of morbid touch to the end of the film. I don't know, what do you think of that?
Didn't feel it was morbid. It made me confused because it made me think it was a true story.
Yeah.
That's what they usually do.
Yeah.
But I guess George Lucas had an idea for every character.
Right, yeah.
What would happen, and I bet he just really wanted people to know
I suppose.
how he was thinking this to, you know, what was going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
It's not an Inception ending, really.
No, but like,
It doesn't leave you wondering.
it's not spoiling things to say that like a couple of the characters, there's kind of like, you know, not very nice kind of afterlives for them beyond the film, and it's just kind of like, well, why tell us that, you know? I get it, you know, like, again, telling you what happens to them next, but I like those things to be open-ended a little bit, and it just seemed like a bit of a downer. Like, oh, so that happens to him, that's a bit, you know. And there was a sequel made a few years later, and so it's like, okay, is this like prequel before that stuff happens, or what? I don't know. I know George Lucas didn't direct it anyway.
Same people?
Yeah, a lot of the same cast came back for the film.
Wow.
Anything else to add, really? I don't think so. Yeah, I really loved the film.
Amazing cars. I love those cars.
And that's another thing.
Every car was amazing.
Just
like,
captures an era from the music
Yeah.
to the clothes, the styles, the way of talking, you know, and the cars and everything. And yeah, it really was.
the roller skate waitress.
Right. Yeah. Cherry
so
Cokes.
50s,
Yeah.
you know, like even
Yeah.
though it was beginning of the 60s, but
Right.
50s were still there, you know.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It was just, I just love that time, you know. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's quite easy to romanticize those times that you were never around for, I think.
Yeah.
There's something about it. And again, just going out driving and stuff, that feels like that's not really a part of anything now for teenagers. I think that it's
Oh, we call it to
at least not in that
Yeah.
style.
No, because you don't have the cars, do you?
Well, not even the car, but just like I don't know, it just feels like a you know.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Now
kind of
people
thing.
just hang out on their phones.
Right, yeah, there's that as well. Anyways, we can go way off into that thing, how things would change and stuff, I suppose.
But I find it funny they were talking about like how much gas they spent in a night or something earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what? But I understood because the rest of the movie was just driving around.
So again, cruising, it's the
Yeah.
cruising lifestyle, I guess.
But I don't understand that movie title.
American Graffiti. Yeah, I never even
Doesn't
thought about
make
it.
sense for
Never
me.
even thought about it.
Why?
There's probably a reason to it.
Because when you were introducing this, like, this is the episode, blah 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 blah, and you said the name of the movie, and I'm like, oh yeah.
1973's American Graffiti, and
What?
I don't know. Well, I don't know.
I think it's a bad title.
No, I like it. It's a cool title. Even if I don't know what it means, I think it's a cool title. I like it. And again, to wrap it up,
Fit.
to wrap it up, I like how it's one of those films that looks at, you know, coming of age. You know, you're about to kind of you finish school, and you know you're moving on. It's kind of like last hurrah and stuff. And yeah, I like those.
Leaving the nest.
Leaving the Nest. Yeah, I like films that have that kind of feeling to it, like Dazed and Confused and other films like that. So yeah, this sits quite nicely along films like that to me. I could very easily see myself doing like a double bill of this and Dazed and Confused and other kind of similar films. But is it a film you should see before you die? That is the question.
You go first.
I'll let you go first.
I don't know.
You don't? You don't? No.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
I'm glad
either.
I watched it.
I don't know either. It's not like, wow, that was incredible. Like, oh my god, such a great, oh, you know, people have got to see this.
If you're a George Lucas fan, though, you should.
Yeah, well, and again...
But other than that, like, if you like the 50s and 60s, like, if you want to watch that kind of movie...
Oh, absolutely.
It's no doubt.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
100%. Yeah, if you like the style.
Yeah, if you like that time and so on, you Cars, I guess.
Or if you like films where you're just hanging out with characters, you know. In a lot of ways, you could almost say that this is like, you know, maybe similar to a Tarantino film in terms of the way characters are presented, where you're literally just hanging out with them and just dialogue, and it's just like, again, natural stuff. Obviously, I'm not comparing this to Tarantino in other ways, but as far as the characters go, where you're just hanging out with them, you know, it's definitely one of those.
I was actually thinking about The Deer Hunter as well, the first part.
But is it a film you should see before you die? Honestly, don't know.
No, I don't know on this one.
I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say yeah because it's different as well. Because
I
it
would
isn't
like
like
people to watch
it
it.
isn't like your typical film. While there are many films like this, but I mean, I just thought it was really, really enjoyable, and I will go back to it again and again. So yeah, it's a film you should see before. I mean, this is films that film lovers should see before you die. So absolutely, yeah. And yeah, it's a shame that George Lucas didn't really make many more films, really. And we'll talk about that next time. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one, which will be Star Wars.